Okay, so it is 9 o'clock on on the first day back after 5-day break. So just so you know, I'm a little tired. Okay, so I'm going to go and get us up to speed. So I'm going to finish up. I'm going to skip more of the numbers, and I'm just going to go on to Deuteronomy a little bit before we hit Joshua. It's going to get a little bit more interesting, I think, if we get once we get into Joshua. I apologize. My dog is over there making some noise. Okay, so let me catch you up to speed on stuff. So the people of Israel, they are wandering the desert. They wander for 40 years. And the reason they're wandering for 40 years is because they go to, there he is. So they go into Canaan just to scout it out, looking for the milk and honey. They find it and everything. And the scouts get a little nervous. They get a little scared. Two of them did not get scared. We're going to talk about the one in a little bit. And the other one, I wish a lot of people should have courage like him. His name is Caleb. Okay, so, excuse me, dog. He's putting his head on my Bible. Okay. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit of context about Canaan and why God said for them to wander for 40 years. So Canaan actually started in Genesis, and Genesis 9, and it's part of the Noah story. And so the flood happened. Noah gets off the boat, the ark and everything, and he builds a vineyard. And one night he gets drunk, and he's laying in his bed naked. Well, his three sons, Ham, Japheth, and Shem, they come in and they see him. Shem and Japheth, they're like, okay, we'll cover him up. No big deal. We'll just cover him up. Well, Ham made a big deal over it. So I'm going to read Genesis 9:24 through 27. Okay? And it says, when Noah woke up from his stupor, he learned what Ham, his youngest son, had done. Then he cursed Canaan, the son of Ham. May Canaan be cursed. May he be the lowest of servants to his relatives. Then Noah said, may the Lord, the God of Shem, be blessed, and may Canaan be his servant. May God expand the territory of Japheth. So Canaan was a land where they were very immoral. They didn't follow God's desires whatsoever. Well, as I said, Joshua and Caleb, they were like, Caleb was like, you know what, we need to go in. Let's have courage. Let's go in. Let's go do what we need to do. We can conquer them. We'll be fine. So we need to have courage like him. And he came from Judah, the tribe of Judah. If you remember, that there is Joseph had his. Wait, I'm sorry, not Joseph. Joseph was one of the tribes. I'm sorry. Jacob. Jacob had his 12 sons. It became the 12 tribes of Israel. And so he came from the tribe of Judah. And then the other one, Caleb, came from the tribe of Ephraim. Sorry, the dog is over here smelling my elbow and licking it. I do not know what's going on. It's kind of weird. He's been like this, like he usually ignores me. And let's see if I can get him. Are you gonna do that so we can see on the camera? Okay, there we go. I'm like, what are you doing, dog? Okay, so usually he ignores me, but because I've been gone all day and he usually all over his dad, he decides he wants to be all over me while I'm doing this. Okay, can I get back to what I need to do? Thank you. So in the meantime, Moses doesn't trust God. God says, do not, just go talk to the rock and I will provide you water. Well, Moses decides to strike the rock, and as a result, God said, you're not going to the promised land either. Guys, gentlemen, Sorry. So, Numbers, Leviticus, Numbers and Leviticus, they are talking about all the different laws and everything. And then Deuteronomy, a lot of it is the goodbye letter from Moses to his people because he knows it's about time for them to enter the promised land. I'm sorry. He will not stop licking my arm. I do not know what's going on. I did not eat anything with gluten, dog. I'm sorry. Okay, this has been my day. Like people all like I had students on me that I didn't need on me, and now I have a dog that won't leave me alone. Okay. While I'm trying to videotape. Okay, so now we are up to when Joshua is going to take over as the new leader of the country. There he is. Okay, so hold on. Okay, I was going to read you real quick about Moses when he struck the rock, and that's in Numbers 20, verses 1 through 13. Okay, in the first month of the year, the whole community of Israel arrived in the wilderness of Zin and camped at Kadesh. While they were there, Miriam died and was buried. There was no water for the people to drink at that place. Gentlemen! So they rebelled against Moses and Aaron. The people blamed Moses and said, "If only we had died in the Lord's presence with our brothers. Why have you brought the congregation of the Lord's people into this wilderness to die along with our livestock? Why did you make us leave Egypt and bring us here to this terrible place? This land has no grain, no figs, no grapes, no pomegranates, and no water to drink." Moses and Aaron turned away from the people and went to the entrance of the tabernacle, where they fell face down on the ground. Then the glorious presence of the Lord appeared to them, and the Lord said to Moses, "You and Aaron must take the staff and assemble the entire community. As the people watch, speak to the rock over there, and it will pour out water. You will provide enough water from this rock to satisfy the whole community and their livestock." So Moses did as he was told. He took the staff from the place where it was kept before the Lord. Then he and Aaron summoned the people to come and gather at the rock. "Listen, you rebels," he shouted. "Must we bring your water from this rock?" Then Moses raised his hand and struck the rock twice with his staff, and water gushed out. So the entire community and their livestock drank their fill. But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Because you did not trust me enough to demonstrate my holiness to the people of Israel, you will not lead them into the land I am giving them." This place was known as the waters of Meribah, which means arguing, because the people of Israel argued with God, and there he demonstrated his holiness among them. Okay. So, give me 1 second. The house was quiet until I started. And then, as I said, Gaston today is very, very, yeah, because we weren't home today, so that's why. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Deuteronomy 31. Okay, so it says Moses finishes giving God's instructions to his people. Okay, so he's telling them what to do, because his leader, him being a leader is going to be almost time out. It's almost 40 years. It's almost over. Okay, but he has to tell them some warning before they go into Canaan. Because remember, I said Canaan is not a very, they don't follow God's, desires. Okay, so reason for Joshua. He was very well qualified. He had all the check the boxes and everything. He assisted with Moses even before God gave the 10 Commandments. He knew military strategy, and he led them into battle. He scouted out the promised land. Remember, I told you him and Caleb were the brave ones. And he was confident that God would help them occupy the land. He knew the people of Israel, and they respected him. He had a very strong faith, and he was one of the only 2 Hebrews not to die in the wilderness. he was tasked with leading Israel in its conquest of the Promised Land. So, one thing we should know, changing of hands. It's going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy. So they have to adjust from one person's way of doing things to another person's. And Moses and Joshua, they weren't the same. They were very different in how they, how they led. God's purpose was for a different leadership task, because he wanted them to conquer Canaan. He was a warrior, and he was confident from the start, accepting his new role with no objection. He's like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. I've been trained for this. This is what I need to do. He was proved and blessed by the former leader. So good changing of hands, and excellent example of us to follow. So here we go. So Deuteronomy 31, 1 through 13. Okay. And then I will then tell you where we're going to go next. Okay, so it says Joshua becomes Israel's leaders. When Moses had finished giving these instructions to all the people of Israel, he said, I am 120 years old, and I no longer able to lead you. The Lord has told me, you will cross the Jordan River, but the Lord your God himself will cross ahead of you. Remember, he did that kind of stuff before, when they were leaving Egypt. So this is like nothing new. He will destroy the nations living there, and you will take possession of their land. Joshua will lead you across the river just as the Lord promised. The Lord will destroy the nations living in the land just as he destroyed Shinon and Og, the kings of the Amorites. The Lord will hand over to you the people who live there, and you must deal with them as I have commanded you. So be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, and do not panic before them. For the Lord your God will personally go ahead of you. He will neither fail nor abandon you. And I wrote, and this is actually, you ready for this? I wrote this 10-4-19. So, but I actually probably wrote it. That would have been, I don't know. I wrote it sometime in October 2019. Okay. Or I wrote a note, and it says, so important to remember. Your Lord, your God, will personally go ahead of you. He will not fail nor abandon you. And we need to remember that God's going to go ahead, and he already knows where we're going. It's for us to trust and trust him. Then Moses called for Joshua and all of Israel. Watch, as he said to him, be strong and courageous, for you will lead these people into the land that the Lord swore to his ancestors he would give you. You are the one who will divide it among them as their grants of land. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord will personally go ahead of you. He will be with you. He will neither fail nor abandon you. Again, he's reassuring, and that we need to remember that God's always with us. He will go ahead of us. He will go and make sure he already knows our purposes. He already knows he will not fail us, okay? Even when it feels like he's failing us, he's there. There's a reason. Public reading of the book of instruction. So Moses wrote this entire book of instruction in a book and gave it to the priests who carried the Ark of the Lord's covenant, and to the elders of Israel. And so that was probably like a scroll, because that's what they used back then. Then Moses gave them this command. At the end of every 7th year, the year of release during the festival shelters, you must read this book of instruction to all the people of Israel when they assemble before the Lord your God at the place he chooses. Call them all together, men, women, children, and foreigners living in your towns. So he always believed in taking care of foreigners. He did not want us to forget them, okay? So they may hear the book of instruction and learn to fear the Lord your God and carefully obey all the terms of these instructions. Do this so that your children who have known these instructions will hear them, and you will learn to fear the Lord your God. Do this as long as you live in the land you're crossing the Jordan to occupy. Okay? It's now time to go. I apologize for interruptions by children and dogs. But I hope you got some nuggets of information. And so the things you need are if you want to go look up the Bible verses, it was Genesis 9:24 through 27 about Canaan. Numbers, hold on 1 second. Numbers. I apologize because I was going to tell you so I can make sure that I'm telling you the right one. So give me a second. Okay, Numbers 21 through 13. And then if you want to read about when they go into Canaan and everything, that is Numbers 13, 1 through 33 is about when they go to Canaan. And then we read Deuteronomy 31, 1 through 13, and that is when the changing of hands happens, when Joshua becomes the leader right before Moses dies. Okay, so hopefully you got some little nuggets of information. So next time we will be we're going to bypass his death. And if you want to read about his death, that's Deuteronomy 34 through 1 through 12. And then I may pick up and read on that before we go about Rahab. Rahab the prostitute. Rahab the prostitute, who is actually one of the ancestors of Jesus. Okay, with that, be blessed.